to Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today Around Kansas starts with a look at the Kansas connection to cowboy music and poetry. Next, learn why Nancy Landon Kassebaum Baker was chosen to receive the 2016 Friend of the Flint Hills Award. Then enjoy a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with the Fort Leavenworth National Cemetery, the largest of the original 14 national cemeteries created in 1862. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment is brought to you by Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, just a short drive down the Yellow Brick Road. Well, good morning. I'm Frank.
I'm Deb.
And this is Around Kansas. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, fresh from the Kansas Sampler Festival. Geez Louise. I mean, as you well know, everything you can imagine and a few things you can't imagine, and just a beautiful setting in Winfield. If you haven't been to Winfield lately, by all means go. It's such a beautiful town. And of course, if you didn't get to Winfield for Sampler Festival, of course, you've got the Walnut Valley Festival coming up in September, so be sure to make that. But just go down in between times and enjoy that lovely town.
Yeah, one of the more popular tents at the Kansas Sampler, of course, is the Wine and Spirits.
Speaking of samples, yes.
Yes. So anyway, it is amazing the number of wineries and breweries and all of that are in the state of Kansas now.
It is amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. You know, my friend Britt Nichols from out at Wamego, he an attorney out at Wamego, started the Oz Winery and then sold it and then started another winery. And championed viticulture. Is that the right word?
Yes.
I have to say that correctly. And of course, Highland Community College has a program in viticulture.
Viticulture, yes.
And it's funny. It's like we've got a lot of different climates, as we've talked about on the show. We've got a lot of different climates, and apparently there's a grape that will adapt to just about anything.
Well, before Prohibition, Kansas was like number 4 in wine production in the country because of the climate and the geography and the whole thing. This was really a great place to grow to grow the grapes and wine and the whole thing. Then Prohibition came in and boop, went away. So.
And then the hops, you know, for beer. So we've got. I have friends who actually grow hops in their flower garden because, you know, so many people make, you know, their beer at home. And of course, we've got some awesome breweries just all over the place. And we've got, did we do a story on this? We've got a distillery now up at Atchison.
Oh, well, it's been there a long time, yeah.
Have we done a story on that?
No, we haven't.
Speaking of samples, we need to get up there and maybe we should go do that one together, Frank.
Yes, we could. That's been here a very, very long time, and actually they would make the grain alcohol the basis and then sell that to a lot of the other distilleries. So
who would flavor
a lot
it
of brand name whiskeys really had a base of McCormick's in anyway.
No, that's McCormick's is Weston.
Yes.
So, but I'm talking in Atchison.
But yeah, across the river.
But is it the same group? Sorta, maybe. We'll find out.
In the caves.
Our investigative team will get
find
right
out
on
and
that
we'll
one.
get the story straight.
That's right. We'll get that story straight. We'll get right
Google
on
it.
that. Well, we'll Google it. We'll move that one to the top of the list here. Things we got to get to. One thing we got to get to is a commercial break, but we got a great show. So stay with us.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Here's another gardening tip with Annette Jackson from Jackson's Greenhouse.
If you don't have a garden, you can still enjoy fresh vegetables by growing them in containers. Let Jackson's help you select the correct plants for your pots. Use Fertilome's Ultimate Potting Mix. Place pots in the sun and feed them weekly with Fertilome's water-soluble fertilizer. Water thoroughly when dry and watch your garden grow.
Our vegetable plants are homegrown, healthy, and ready to grow.
Jackson's Greenhouse has what you need today.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
And we're back.
So I went down a few weekends ago, who can keep up, and spoke to the Kansas chapter of the Western Music Association. This was my prize. This was one of the best speaker gifts I ever got, by the way. Thank you, Vanna. I appreciate that. So this CD is fantastic. This is a double CD, or double barrel CD as these guys call it. But yeah, Frank, you're going to recognize a lot of the guys and gals on here. Our friend Judy Coder is on here, and she has a yodeling number, and it's just amazing. Ron Wilson, our poet laureate.
Poet laureate, yeah.
Is on here, and our friend Orrin Freeson, and just a lot of names that you'll remember and know. Even though the genre, is just Western music, the variety within that's pretty amazing. We have so much talent here, like you and I have talked about before, Frank.
Yeah.
So much talent. Thank you to my lovely assistant. Let's take a look. The Kansas connection to cowboy music and poetry goes back to the beginning, to the mid-19th century when cowboys began driving longhorn cattle from Texas to the Kansas railheads. Many of the old trail songs have their roots in Kansas. Kansas Cowboy is a remarkable collection reflecting the wide range of Kansans dedicated to the art of Western music and poetry today. These performers are all members of the Western Music Association Kansas chapter and have donated their time and talent to the project. Jeff Davidson is president of the Kansas chapter and is a longtime extension agent with K-State Research and Extension, who is now a watershed specialist in southeast Kansas. He is also a talented singer and guitar player who is an expert on Kansas and Western history. It seemed like a good idea, but I wasn't sure just how we would get it done, Jeff said. Then, when WMA member Jim Farrell volunteered to do it, that's what made it work. Jim Farrell is a longtime performer and producer in the Western music industry. He is a member of the award-winning group, the Diamond W Wranglers. The result is a double-barreled CD set called Kansas Cowboy. It includes 29 tracks with 20 artists or groups performing music and poetry, most of which was penned by the artists themselves. Several of the tracks have never before been recorded. Featured performers are from all corners of the state, from Dodge City to Kansas City and from Medicine Lodge to Manhattan, representing ages from the early 20s to the mid-80s, said Roger Ringer, the group's vice president. The CDs are available from WMA members and at the Prairie Rose Chuck Wagon in Benton. Support Kansas agriculture education with an AgriTag. AgriTags are available anytime at your county treasurer. They look great on cars and trucks. For more information, go online to ksagclassroom.org.
Lecompton. The name was splashed across newspapers throughout America and Europe. It was debated in the halls of Congress. Lecompton interprets its unique territorial history with 2 museums and other sites. Events throughout the year celebrate history and community.
The 160th anniversary of the Battle of Fort Titus, June 18th, 2 p.m. Reenactors welcome. Call 785-887-6148 for more information.
Spend the day in historic Lecompton, shopping, eating, savoring the rich history.
When your living depends on agriculture, you can depend on KFRM 550 AM. If you're in the southwest three-fourths of Kansas or the northern half of Oklahoma, catch us at 5:50 a.m. on the radio dial. But if that isn't you, listen on your cell phone at TuneIn Radio or on your computer at KFRM.com. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and company as you go through your day. KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the plains. We would like to join your management team.
I think it really extends your home out to the outdoors, and Mark always had kind of a vision of what he wanted to do with the yard, and so he envisioned this kind of outdoor area, the waterfall and things, but when Blueville came in, they had some really good ideas of how to place it and how to do different things that really enhance the project. So,
yeah, over the years we've grown to really enjoy our outdoor living space and developed a great working relationship with Blueville.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Find out more at kansasgrainsorghum.org.
Welcome back, folks, and it seems like we've just created a Landon segment on every episode of Around Kansas for a while, but I can't think of a family more deserving of all that attention.
Right.
So Nancy is garnering honors again.
Nancy Landon Kassebaum Baker, yes. Well, because she was she was instrumental in getting a national park, another national park here in in Kansas, which is the Tallgrass Prairie down by Strong City.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, it's a beautiful place. If you've never been there, you can make a day trip out of it. You can make a weekend out of it, because there are a lot of trails that you can get back into the prairie, and it is like it was maybe 100 years ago, 200 years ago. And so you can camp out there, you can tour there. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to go.
What a gift to the public, and that's one of the great places to take kids, because you can see them for a mile away, so they can run along on the trail. They get out and get some exercise, work off some of that energy. It's also a really great place if you've got guests visiting from out of town to go over there and do a walk around too, because if they're not familiar with the Kansas landscape, they're going to be blown away. Yeah. They're really going to be impressed.
Well, and you need to go through, and now the name escapes me, but there is a home there, which is a 3-story home that was built out of natural limestone and all of that. And that in itself is interesting, because their cooling system in the home, because it's built in such a way where during the summer the winds would come through, but then in the basement there's a natural spring that comes through there, and that's how they cool vegetables and the whole thing. You got to go see this place.
You got to go see it. It's got that beautiful commanding view of the valley right there, right in front of it. It's really nice.
So thank you, Senator Kassebaum Baker, for providing such a beautiful gift to the people of Kansas.
A lot of service that woman has done for us.
Yes.
God bless you, Nancy.
Each year, the Flint Hills Discovery Center Foundation presents an award honoring significant time, effort, and resources devoted to the cause of conserving the Flint Hills of Kansas and northern Oklahoma, and to the Flint Hills Discovery Center. This year's recipient is Nancy Landon Kassebaum Baker. Nancy was chosen for her exemplary leadership role and commitment to the Flint Hills as an elected official, said Bruce Sneed, president of the Flint Hills Discovery Center Foundation. Kassebaum Baker's love of Kansas and the Flint Hills region was exemplified by her efforts, along with that of others, in the establishment of the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve near Strong City, Kansas in 1996. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve and the 100th anniversary of the U.S. National Park Service. The significance of the 20-year anniversary is that this was the first time a public and private entity came together and formed a partnership dedicated to preserving a portion of the last remaining stand of tallgrass prairie in North America. The Nature Conservancy and the National Park Service partnered in order to foster preservation, provide a venue to interpret local cultural and historical features, provide visitors with the opportunity to become inspired, and to explore the ecological, geological, and historical aspects of the property. The Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve is the only one of its kind in the National Park Service system. Kassebaum Baker served 3 terms representing the state of Kansas in the U.S. Senate from 1979 through 1997. She returned to her permanent home in the Flint Hills in 2014 following the death of her husband, former U.S. Senator Howard Baker. Nancy accepted her award at the annual recognition event in April at the Flint Hills Discovery Center in Manhattan. The Flint Hills Discovery Center Foundation functions to advance the mission of the Flint Hills Discovery Center by providing support for its programs and initiatives, ensuring stewardship of the region's tallgrass prairie, and support to the Discovery Center.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses and rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery, and so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, after 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results with stem cell injections, but at about 3 to 3.5 months, I started to feel better. I started to have less pain and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. And I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. Around Kansas, brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
The mid to late 1800s meant a huge change in the culture of what would become Kansas. Homesteaders came into the state of Kansas following the Homestead Act, and with them they brought fencing. And this poem is based on the true story of the invention of barbed wire fence. The poem is entitled The Death of Open Range. Let me tell you of a time when open range was in its prime. Cowboys rode their horses forth and drove the herds of cattle north. We could ride all over this great land, unfettered by the human hand. Then a farmer over Illinois way invented something that's used today. His name was Mr. Joseph Glidden. He was doing the homesteaders' bidding. He took a pair of heavy pliers and wrapped barbs around a long piece of wire. The barb's sharp points kept stock in or out. It could be used for fencing all about. For the open range, it was a turn of events, 'cause barbed wire made it easy to string a fence. Barbed wire succeeded more than Glidden had planned. Soon fences crisscrossed the open land. The Old West changed with Glidden's invention, and it caused the cowboys apprehension. No more could we ride over free open range, and the cowboy's role would be forever changed. Homesteaders and nesters scarred this land and changed the role of the old cowhand. The cowboy's work continues on, but the days of open range are gone. The open range would have no more hope. That's why cowboys called barbed wire the devil's rope. Happy trails.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. A high-energy, drought-tolerant crop, sorghum only requires 6 inches of water to produce the first bushel. And with its wide uses and easy adaptation, sorghum proves to be a truly indispensable crop. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com.
Around Kansas, brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. Go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter. And here we are again on your Wednesday morning.
So, in the middle of May, just about.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. You know what we've been doing on the show, we were just discussing that as the last story was on and all that there are how many national cemeteries in the state of Kansas?
5, I believe.
5 of them.
Yeah.
And so, of course, my co-host here has been visiting them, and we're doing stories on all of them.
Well, they're all obviously filled with heroes, and each one of those is an amazing story. And so, obviously, Memorial Day in May. Take some time. I know Memorial Weekend gets pretty busy for folks, but you don't have to wait for Memorial Day to go visit one of these cemeteries. And most of them have, Find a Grave is a fantastic internet tool, but most of them will have a directory if there's somebody that you're looking for. A lot of times you can call ahead and get some kind of tour. The one we're going to talk about today is Fort Leavenworth National Cemetery. There are actually 2 national cemeteries in Leavenworth. One is off post, and it is beautiful. It's just rolling hills, and it's obviously a little newer than the one on post, but they are beautiful. They're just landscaped beautifully, but the stories that are there are so powerful.
It's really kind of an emotional trip too, especially at Leavenworth, because like you say, it has the rolling hills, and you get a perspective and you see all of these stones. And you think, that's why we're free.
Yes. Amen, brother. According to the Department of Veterans Affairs, who manages our national cemeteries, Fort Leavenworth National Cemetery reflects the fort's changing role in our nation's history. From its beginnings in 1827, a burying ground was necessary, mostly due to the ravages of malaria and other diseases. Military tradition dictated 2 cemeteries, one for enlisted men and the other for officers. In 1858, the remains from both post cemeteries were reinterred into a single site on the military reservation. When Congress approved the creation of national cemeteries in 1862, the Fort Leavenworth Cemetery became one of 14 national cemeteries to be designated or established as such that year. Of the original 14 national cemeteries, Fort Leavenworth was the largest at more than 36 acres. In the years following the Civil War, the bodies of Union soldiers from St. Joseph, Kansas City, and Independence, Missouri were reinterred at Fort Leavenworth. In addition, the cemetery was used as the burial ground for soldiers who served at frontier posts in Kansas, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and southern Wyoming. In 1870, the Inspector of National Cemeteries reported more than 1,000 Union soldiers interred at Fort Leavenworth, along with roughly 170 citizens and 7 Confederate prisoners of war. In 1886, soldiers originally buried at Fort Craig, New Mexico, were reinterred at Fort Leavenworth to facilitate completion of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad. Following the close of the Indian Wars and resettlement of Native Americans, the Army closed or consolidated many of its small military outposts in the West. As a result, between 1885 and 1907, the federal government vacated numerous military post cemeteries and reinterred nearly 2,000 remains at Fort Leavenworth National Cemetery. The remains of Brigadier General Leavenworth, the fort's namesake, were disinterred from Woodland Cemetery in Delhi, New York, and reinterred in the National Cemetery on Memorial Day in 1902. The general died in 1834 at Cross Timbers in Indian Territory without knowing he had been promoted from colonel to brigadier general. A large granite marker topped with an eagle in repose was erected in 1910 to mark his grave. Fort Leavenworth National Cemetery was listed on the National Register of Historic Places on July 15, 1999. Among the many Medal of Honor recipients who rest here is Second Lieutenant Tom Custer, who died with his brother at the Little Bighorn.
Wow, another half hour poof has gone by. I'm Frank.
I'm Deb.
And we'll see you somewhere around Kansas. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of Dorothy's dream. We're the best part of Dorothy's dream.
To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agamandkansas.com.